There is a mistake that I see people making constantly when they are looking into getting an IUL or an Index Universal Life Policy. And if you have talked to 2, 3, or even more people about an IUL and you still have not opened one, you are probably making the same mistake as well. An important thing to know about an IUL is that it is extremely customizable. Think of it this way. If you have ever seen those homes that are prefab that are made already, they just bring a house that is completely made and they just dump it on a foundation and the house is done. This is what your regular life insurance policies are like, where it's really hard to mess them up. It's just a plug and play type thing. Whereas with an Index Universal Life Policy, think of it like a house that has to be built from scratch, where somebody has to come and pour the foundation, then put up the frames. Then we have to put in the actual sheetrock and build the roof and all these different things. With an IUL, your agent is starting from scratch, from a blank slate, and they have to know how to actually build this step by step so that at the end you have an actual house that is livable and complete. And in this case, your IUL will be an IUL that actually is built out based on what you are trying to do. If this is the first time that we are meeting, my name is Nobu Musikiwa. I'm a licensed financial strategist and I help working professionals 40 and above leverage cash value life insurance like an IUL to save smarter and pay less taxes. If that is something that you are interested in, go ahead and check out the description box to see how we can work together. Most people that are looking to get an IUL are looking for it in order to get cash out of it at some point. So whether you're using it to save for retirement or using it to invest in real estate or using it as like an emergency fund, right? Most people that are looking to an IUL are interested in that cash value part. So what most people do, they go talk to different people. The main thing they're thinking and they're looking out for is, okay, if I put X amount into this, how much am I gonna have in 10 years or 20 years or 30 years or whatever your timeline is? And while on the surface that seems to make sense and that seems to be a good way to evaluate whether or not this particular IUL works well for you, if you don't know how IULs work and if you don't know what to look out for, it's very easy to manipulate it to make it seem like it's going to grow into a specific amount by a specific date. It's kind of like if you don't know anything about how houses are built, somebody can build a house for you that looks beautiful on the outside, but then once you move in, things start falling apart because it wasn't done properly. So what I'm going to walk you through today are the things that you should be looking at instead of just looking at how much money is going to be in there in the next 5, 10 years or whatever, because that's very easy to manipulate. But more importantly, just because your IUL illustration says that you're going to have a number that you like in 10, 20 years, the reality is that those numbers that you're looking at are just projections, they're just hypothetical, and they're not guaranteed. And so you want to look at other things instead for you to determine whether or not this IUL is built out based on what you want it to do, that it's going to be a solid IUL that's going to perform well for you in the long term. It is especially important if you're 40 and above to ensure that your IUL is being built out correctly, because if it is not, it is going to lose you thousands of dollars, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars, because of a few crucial mistakes that you, even if you are not well versed in IULs, can just take a look at to make sure that your IUL is built out correctly. In addition to what I'm going to walk you through today, I have a checklist that you can use to check a few other things as well to make sure that your IUL is built out to your advantage. If you would like a copy of that, go ahead and drop the comment checklist and I will make sure to get that to you. So my assumption as I'm walking you through this is that first, you are 40 and over, and second, your goal is to use this IUL to pull cash out of it. 40 is not old. You have a long time to live, inshallah. But if your goal is to work until you're 60 or 65 or maybe even sooner, what that means is you don't have a ton of time to put money into this and also a ton of time to have this money grow for you. With an IUL, time is your best friend. So the sooner you start an IUL, the better it is going to be for you in terms of the growth of those funds. Let's just level set to make sure we're on the same page. Whenever you are putting money into an IUL, there's always two different buckets of where your money is going. Part of the money is going towards paying for the actual life insurance. The other part is going into a cash bucket where your money is going to build up and grow over time. That is the pool of money that you can borrow from. When this policy is being created, there are two different options on how to set this up. It can be set up where it is level, which means that the insurance amount that's going to be paid out to you in the event that you pass away is always going to be the same. Option number two is that it is increasing, which is each year as you put money in, that money that you put in is going to be increased to how much the insurance company is paying out. So let's say, for example, the insurance amount is $300,000. If you have a level policy, whether you die on year one or you die on year five, the insurance company is going to pay $300,000. Whereas if you have an increasing policy and you're putting in 10K a year, if you die on at the end of year one, they're not paying 300K, they're paying 310K because they're going to add in how much you put into that. Now, while it might sound like, well, obviously I want the one that's going to increase every single year, the problem becomes the amount that you're paying to the insurance company is determined by the gap between how much is in your cash bucket and how much they have to pay out if you pass away. The older you are, the more expensive your insurance gets. And so if you continue to have an increasing policy, by the time that you're 55, 60, 65, your cost of insurance is going to be through the roof. And so if you have an increasing policy, that gap continues to grow bigger, it never gets smaller, which means that how much you have to pay for insurance is going to continue to go up. And as you get older, it's going to go up by a lot. Whereas if you have a level policy, every time you're putting money in, the gap between what is in your cash bucket and how much they're paying out is actually starting to get smaller, which means that how much you're actually paying for your insurance is going to continue to reduce, which gives you incentive to put more money in, because if you're putting more money in, then your cost of insurance continues to go down. And hopefully, by the time you're at an age where you're no longer working, you actually don't have to put any money in at all. The insurance starts to pay for itself. Not only because that gap is smaller, but also because as you put more money in, the interest that's being credited to you is bigger, which means that you are getting more compound interest benefits over time. Essentially, like if you are older, you have less time for compound interest to work for you. So it is to your advantage to have a level policy versus an increasing policy, unless there is an extremely good reason why you want an increasing policy instead. And so most of the time when people are saying, well, if I die tomorrow, then like I want the full amount, that's perfectly fine. You can do that as long as you're clear that when you're 65, you're going to have to be paying out of pocket for this insurance, and it's going to be extremely expensive. So if you don't want to do that, if you want this policy to actually work in a way where you are winning versus the insurance company, if you're over 40, look to see, is it level or is it increasing? If it's increasing, it's probably not a good idea. But that alone doesn't tell you the full story. Like I said, there could be instances where an increasing makes sense depending on what you're trying to do. The next thing you want to look at is how much insurance am I actually getting? You can never have too much life insurance, but we want to always step back and ask ourselves, what is the reason why you're getting this IUL? If your goal is you want to just get as much life insurance as possible and you don't care about the cash growing, then this doesn't apply to you. But if you know that you're getting this IUL because your goal is to leverage it for the cash value component, you want this structured so more money is going into your cash bucket versus the life insurance. So if you don't know anything about IULs, you're a regular person, like how do you confirm to make sure that the life insurance that is built out on this isn't too much? The easiest way for you to do this is to look at your illustration. One line is going to be showing how much is projected to be available in your account overall. Then another column is going to show you how much is projected for you to be able to pull money out. When you look at that column that shows you how much is going to be available for you to actually take out, if you see 2 zeros or more, then you are buying too much insurance. If the insurance that is being attached to how much you're putting in is at a level that's acceptable, by year 2, there should be some kind of cash in your account. That's not saying you're going to have like a whole bunch of money in there, but there should be some kind of positive balance that you can actually take out by year 2. And if you're seeing that year 1 is 0, year 2 0, year 3 0, multiple zeros, that means that the insurance that's being attached to this account in comparison to how much you're planning on putting in is way too much. This is not a well-structured IUL. This is an IUL that is going to cost you money as opposed to making you money. And I'm assuming that's not what you want. Speaking of what you want, I am curious, what is the biggest reason why you are interested in getting an IUL? Go ahead and drop your comments in the chat. I have an IUL primarily for real estate investing, but you can use it for all kinds of things, like I said. So I'm curious, what is it that you are most interested in doing with your IUL? Something else that is going to lead you to losing money in your IUL is if it is built out so that you are contributing money into this IUL until the day you die. That's not good. Each IUL is built out from the ground up for each person. And so part of that building out is determining when you are going to stop putting money into this IUL, and that's going to affect a few different things. Like I said, it's easy to manipulate the numbers so it looks like you're going to get all this insurance and you're going to have all these funds available. So you don't want to just be looking at like how much am I going to have in there by X amount of date. One thing that I see often in IULs are not created correctly is that they are built out so someone is paying into them until the policy expires. With an IUL especially, you want to get it to a place where the policy is paying for itself. Like that, you want to make sure that gap between what is in your cash bucket and what the insurance company is going to pay out is as little as possible. And so if it's built out where you are paying all the way until 120, then we never get to that point where this gap is actually closed in, because the projected amount of what you're going to put in is just way more compared to what you actually will do, because I'm assuming you don't want to work until you're 120, right? And so if that's the case, we don't want to build this out so there's an obligation to keep putting money in this after retirement. That doesn't really make sense. And so you want to make sure that when you are looking at this IUL that's being built out for you, the timeline that is projected of when you will stop putting money into this actually makes sense based on when you plan on working till. So if you know that you don't want to be working after 65, but this IUL is built out that you're continuing to put money in until you're 95, then you want to ask yourself, am I going to have those funds from 65 to 95 to keep putting money into this? If the answer is no, then this needs to be adjusted to account for the fact that you're going to stop working until you're 65 and you want to be able to stop putting money in at that point. So you might see an illustration where the numbers don't look so sexy, where, the insurance amount isn't as high, or how much is projected to be isn't as high. But if it's something that you can comfortably and reasonably contribute to, and it still gives you the amount of cash that you want to have, then that's more important, that it's actually sustainable and is actually going to produce funds for you in the long term, versus something that just looks nice, but it looking nice isn't something that's actually guaranteed. I know that it can be overwhelming when you are thinking about putting funds into somewhere for a long period of time and you want to make sure that it actually makes sense and is a good financial decision. If you're interested in getting a checklist that you can use to look at an IUL to make sure it is built out properly, go ahead and drop checklist in the comment and I'll make sure I get that to you. The best way for you to get an IUL designed that actually accomplishes what you needed to financially is to take a step back and do a little bit of planning. Your IUL is only going to be as good as the information that you give the person that is building it out for you. And you do need someone to build it out for you. You as an individual cannot create an IUL by yourself. You need somebody that is licensed to create IUL specifically. In this video, I walk you through step by step the things that you want to think about and have in place before you talk to anybody about an IUL, so that when you have that conversation, you are in the best position to have an IUL created for you that actually puts money in your pockets and doesn't risk you losing everything. I'll see you there.